PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PACTV Community News. We have a great show tonight as we bring you to a Credit for Life fair at Pembroke High School, a juried art show from Duxbury Art Association, and we get a preview to Silver Lake High School's Robin Hood show.
PCN stops into a comedy fundraiser to benefit homelessness in the area, and we meet some students behind a DECA program at a Plymouth South High School who are also working to help homelessness.
We take you to an event that highlighted the history of Plymouth County Corrections, and we bring you an update on an outdoor classroom at Plymouth Elementary School.
It's a full show, and we begin at Kingston Library. Do you know who the first person to be hanged in Plymouth County was and why? Do you know where the title sheriff came from and just how many there have been in Plymouth since the 1600s? To find out those answers and more, you should attend a presentation of the history of the Plymouth County jails. That's what we did.
Tonight we're talking about the history of the Plymouth County jails. So we'll be going all the way back into the days of the Pilgrims. We'll be talking about the jails themselves. We'll be talking about some of the infamous inmates that we've had through history. We'll talk about the history, some of the laws that existed around the Pilgrims' time, as well as more of the modern ones. And it's a really fun program. I tell people it's nothing you need to know, but a lot of fun stuff. This is one of my few programs where I actually have my audience take a test before we start. It's a little history quiz about jails and law enforcement in the old days. And they're not expected to do very well, and most of the time they don't. Some of the questions involve, like, who was the first person hung in Plymouth Colony, which just happens to be John Billington, by the way, who was hung for murder. One other question is where was some of the money that was spent in, I want to say around the turn of the century, and it's all multiple choice, so there's a chance you might get it right. We talk about things like lewd and lascivious behavior and things like that, so it's just a lot of fun stuff. The program actually goes from the Pilgrims up to where we are now. The current sheriff is actually the 30th High Sheriff of Plymouth County, Sheriff McDonald, and that 30th is from 1692, so we haven't had that many sheriffs in that amount of time, but we go all the way up into the modern times. We do these programs all across Plymouth County, and if anybody's interested in going to one of these programs, they can go to the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department website, and on our calendar it shows where I'm going to be at what time, and that's www.pcsdma.org. I do them at senior centers, so I get a lot of seniors. I do them for service organization, neighborhood associations, different libraries, different 55-plus communities, just about any group that meets. And I come out 7 days a week, so I'll come out in the evening, the weekends, it doesn't matter, I'll come out anytime to speak. I'm thinking when people leave this, they're probably going to be saying, wow, I didn't know that. And I try very hard to keep my some humor in all of my programs. I think that's an interesting way to get it across to people what I'm saying. And so I think people leave here going, boy, that was kind of neat, because I never knew that. You know, and if they get 1 or 2, 3 things out of there that they didn't know, I think that's great. I've done a good job. So we'll do like ice cream social.
Rockland Trust has a program where they work with local high schools to set up credit fairs for students. These fairs are aimed to give a real-world financial experience to high school students before they have to face these elements by themselves. PCN stopped into the first credit fair held at Pembroke High School to learn more about this vital program.
Today we're running a Credit for Life fair for our seniors, aimed at giving our seniors a real-life opportunity to kind of grasp what's going to be facing them in the next 4 years or maybe even after college, you know, in terms of financing and budgeting and credit and things of that nature.
In conjunction where I work at Rockland Trust, we put on Credit for Life fairs at local schools in our footprint. These fairs are helping the kids learn how to manage the money that they'll be making when they get out of college and spend their money, pay their bills. Financial literacy is basically what we go through here today.
Each student has already done a little bit of a pre-report about their career choice, which will give them an idea of finances, average annual starting salary based on that occupation. So they have a spreadsheet right now with their finances, with some expenses on it, and they are rotating around stations here, each station representing a part of their life. Automotive, for instance, room board, rents, luxury items, utilities. They'll travel to each one of those stations getting an idea of how much it actually costs to own these things or to survive in the real world when they're not at the bank of mom and dad. Hopefully when they go through each of those stations with their spreadsheet, the money they have available to spend does not get surpassed by the amount of money they have to spend on these necessities.
They have to go around and make choices. It's a big day about choices. Choosing a car, have a monthly payment, choosing cable, TV, internet bills, making food and nutrition choices, gym choices, dealing with things that pop up in life that aren't planned, so a flat tire or something like that. So they're making choices all day in regards to their income. We would love to keep doing this every year, and I would like to incorporate the juniors and the seniors next year. This is just the seniors this year. Juniors are making decisions about colleges, so I think it's an important time for them to be deciding on how much college debt they might want to be paying off in their lifetime. So I really hope to do that next year, but we can't do it unless we get a ton of volunteers. We need about 70 volunteers for this event.
The only reason why it's happening right now is because Kim McKenna, who is a Pembroke resident who has children in the Pembroke Public Schools, including at the high school, she approached me in her position at Rockland Trust, gauging my interest about this collaborative partnership between the community and the schools to give our kids this real life opportunity. And she didn't have to sell me. I was on board right from the get-go. So that is the reason why it's happening. All the credit goes to her, for sure.
What a great idea and what a great story. We'd never had anything like that when I was in high school, and it would have been very, very valuable to me and my friends and everybody else, because it's something that kids have to learn, and they just don't learn it.
Yeah, it's a recent phenomenon. We've been covering these things for the past couple of years, and every time they do it, it's great. They set up stations where it's like, here's what it's going to cost for your rent, here's the cost for your car, here's the cost for X, Y, and Z, food, groceries, you name it.
Right.
All it took was that one summer where you went away to college and you came home, you made a couple $1,000, and then you paid your rent for the year or whatever. And you're like, what happened to all that money that I had? It's gone. So to learn how to budget, it's awesome.
It's an invaluable experience for the kids. I'm so glad that Rockland Trust is doing this.
For those of you familiar with the Duxbury Art Association, you know how amazing their contributions are to the South Shore artistic community. We stopped in recently to the annual Winter Juried Art Show to catch up with the winning artists to talk about the organization's return to their roots.
The Winter Juried Show through the Duxbury Art Association is our annual juried show. By juried show, it means that all of the pieces that are shown here have been judged to be part of the show. So out of over 400 submissions, our judges selected 96 entries for this show across all mediums. So we have watercolor, oil, pastels, sculpture, mixed media, photography. A lot of the artwork comes from artists that are here in the South Shore, but this particular show also attracts artists from a wider region as well. This is our 100th Winter Juried Show, and this is a very popular show on the South Shore and in Massachusetts, so artists actually look forward to this show, and it's a pretty big deal to be juried into this show and be part of it.
The Duxbury Art Show is a wonderful show every year that so many of us artists are thrilled to get in. The caliber of work that we see here is always something that we strive to achieve, and when you get in, you just feel, you look at the work that you're around and you see your peers work, and it's just so much fun being a part of it and seeing the exciting pieces that are in it. They're always creative and experimental and diverse and just beautiful work.
It feels great to be selected to be here. But also on top of that, spending time with the people that come here and the different artists that I work with is awesome. And it's such a good group, and it's a supportive group as well.
The Duxbury Art Association's been around for 100 years now, and I think one of the coolest things about it that a lot of people might not realize is that some of the most prominent painters of the early 19th century were involved in the beginning stages of the Duxbury Art Association, John Singer Sargent being one of them, and he's a painter whose work hangs at the MFA in Boston, among many other places. So the Duxbury Art Association is a volunteer-run organization. What our purpose is to serve the artists in our community as well as people who just enjoy art. You know, the Winter Juried Show is kind of, one of our biggest events that we have. We also have a midsummer show that's for members, but then throughout the year we offer classes for students in the community of all ages and of all skill levels. Volunteering for this organization is wonderful because we have so many ideas and so many things that we want to accomplish through this organization that there's really a committee for anybody to be a part of. From fundraising and the events that we put on to other programs that we have never run before that we'd like to try. So it's a pretty exciting time, and we've actually reached out to the community in the past couple of months as we've really shifted to a fully volunteer-operated organization, and the excitement's been wonderful. A lot of people are really interested in getting involved. The artists are really interested in being able to come to our studios and use them, and share what they do with, students and other artists, and so it's a really exciting time for us.
The theater company at Silver Lake Regional High School will be putting on a production of Robin Hood this spring. The play features plenty of sword fighting and acrobatic maneuvers. What's even more interesting about this production is how much the students had a hand in the choreography to really make this show their own. We spoke with several of the players.
This is basically my brainchild. I have been working on all of the designs, all of the set pieces, all of the props and costumes, and I've had parts in all of it, working with my team that's below me and my teacher that's running the whole thing.
The first thing that the directors told us when we were planning on the auditions was you're going to have to be physically fit to be in the show. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of movement, and nobody really understood how intense it was until we started learning the fighting. And you move your arms so much, and you always have to have your arms all the way extended, and it's like a push and a pull, and everything you do is like a little bit more work every time you do it.
I think there's 7 fight scenes in the show. We fight amongst each other. A lot of the characters that Robin meets, he fights before sort of inviting into his crew of merry men, and it's really it's definitely a very integral part of the show.
Coming up with the choreography and having to know what you're doing is so much like dancing that I found it unbelievable. I was a dancer for so many years, and every time they say oh, put your right foot forward, and you have to remember which foot to put forward every time, and it's just like dancing, and the fact that if you're not in the right place at the right time, something can get messed up.
I've only been doing drama for about 2 years now, and when I heard this show was coming up, I thought it would be something really fun to do. Originally, I hadn't seen myself as Robin Hood. I was looking at a smaller role, but as I started reading the parts, I really kind of fell in love with the character, and I thought maybe I should give it a try, and it worked out very well.
I want the audience to be completely dumbfounded with how much we look like a professional group, because even at rehearsals, we really do look like a professional group. And it's really cool. And I really want the audience to fall in love with that and to fall in love with the story, no matter if they've heard it before or not. So this is our chance to tell them.
The Plymouth Area Coalition held their 3rd annual Comedy Night fundraiser to raise money for the homeless shelter. PCN stopped in to get this story.
And so I'm happy to be here.
We're having our 3rd annual Comedy Night fundraiser for the Plymouth Area Coalition. It's a fundraiser to raise some money for the homeless shelter, which is located down the road from Sacred Heart. So we have 2 comedians, Jessica Hasciano and Paul Nardizzi. They're coming in to perform this evening. And you'll see them, Jessica's opening for Paul. And we also have an MC this evening, which is the first time we're doing that in the 3 years. So I'm going to liven up the audience a bit tonight. This year we're actually bringing it to a new location. We have opened it here at the Hotel 1620. We usually do it in another location. We have about 100 more people this year. So we're up to about almost 300 to raise more money, about probably double the money this year, which is awesome. We brought on sponsors. We're bringing in just a whole new venue, new locations, sponsors, a lot of businesses in town, community. It's really a community feel this year. We're really happy, and it's going to be a great night. They definitely raise a lot of money each year. There's at least 200 people each year. We're up to about 300 people this year. Sold out. We're sold out to capacity this year with 35 tables. I can't believe all the businesses that are participating this year. It's unbelievable. We're so happy to have all these businesses in town come together and support the coalition. It's unbelievable. So, and everybody's done a tremendous job putting this together. Terrific effort by the committee and the board members, so we're really happy.
The reason behind starting it was my daughter and I both got involved about 5 years ago volunteering at the pantry, and my daughter, she was in high school, and she, you know, and I brought her there, and she definitely, it changed, and she makes her appreciate and wants her to give more, and it's just it's a good feeling, and we can always use volunteers, and it's a really good cause, and I'm so proud that we're on the third year, and it's even bigger this year.
It's really important as a not-for-profit organization that we come together and raise funds other than the funds that we get from the State Department of Housing and Community Development that funds a lot of the work that we do, but that we go out to the community and get community leaders to come together and support this organization. So the Plymouth Area Coalition came together probably in the mid-'80s. There's different documents on when the first sort of coming together was, maybe 1984, officially formed later in the 80s over the issue of homelessness. There had been a couple tragic events where people died. They were found in dumpsters, and I think the community was in shock, and they came together and said, what can we do, and began to provide some temporary services at churches. And then over time, they raised the money to build actually an official shelter, went to the state of Massachusetts and got resources to do it. And they served probably 60 families a year and over 100 children, and helped them try to get stabilized back on their feet and off to living an independent and self-sufficient family lifestyle.
We just want to say thank you. Thank you to the sponsors, thank you to the board, thank you to the staff. Everybody really went all out, and I think we're gonna sleep well after this. So thank you to everybody.
It's a wonderful organization, fantastic cause, and what a great place to have it at. The 1620 is so big, and stand-up comedians, what a great way.
Yeah, to raise money. And people don't realize how prevalent homelessness is in our area. It's so much more of a problem than anyone is really aware of, and this really brings it out and brings it to light, and raises a good amount of money. And bless all those people that work on that committee. It was a great event. Good for them. And speaking of homelessness, there's another story that's related. DECA is an international association of high school and college students and teachers of marketing, management, and entrepreneurship in business, finance, hospitality, and marketing, sales, and service. When two Plymouth South high school students were given their senior marketing project through DECA, they decided to do a public relations expose on homelessness in Plymouth. We met up with one of the team members to discuss their project.
Our category is public relations, and we decided to go out of the box for a public relations event because most times you do like a hotel or a local business, and we wanted to focus on a community of people that we knew were misunderstood. So we did Ending the Stigma, which is, like I said, a public relations project that has brought to light the stories and backgrounds of the homeless in our community. In Plymouth, we've found that it's mostly men that are homeless and are attracted to the Plymouth area. But with all different statistics and stuff, we found that there is mostly men that have been stricken by poverty that end them up in this situation, or women who are in domestic abuse situations that lead them to becoming homeless. There's 100 kids in Plymouth public school systems that are homeless. So if we can help them, if we can help the population of homelessness, that was kind of our end goal, and why we took it on, to help someone that necessarily couldn't help or educate other people themselves. I think the biggest thing for us was that we ourselves didn't know it, but had a little bit of a prejudice that, we didn't want to. When we saw someone homeless, we kind of turned the other way. or, you know, we kind of assumed I'm not going to give money. And it kind of was just this really big eye-opener of, wow, these are people who are struggling that we're turning our backs on because if we turn our cheek, the problem's not there. If we are not looking, they don't need our help. So for us, it was this eye-opening event that we need to focus on these people being people, not the homeless. We hope that through this, you know, we've been able to educate not only ourselves a little bit more, but Plymouth South as well as the town of Plymouth, because when we did a survey here, we found 71% of people surveyed said that they associate homelessness with alcohol, and 74% associate homelessness with drugs. So with this, it's kind of this unfair stigma that's placed upon people. So we're trying to focus on bringing it to light, showing people that, you know, you turning, not giving money isn't, you know, might not be helping them, and that they're not sitting there because they're an addict of some sort, but they could be there because of a loss of job or an abusive relationship or the economy. It's something that we can't control always, and that we're always one paycheck away, and it can be affected by anyone.
Schools across the state are having a broader mindset on how kids learn and benefits to alternative teaching. Many schools have begun outdoor classrooms, and kids learn about plants, weather, and nature. Last fall, we visited Plymouth's West Elementary School as they pulled up cement from an unused lot behind the cafeteria to launch their version of an outdoor classroom. This spring, they were right back at it, so PCN stopped in for the update.
Good morning and welcome to Nature's Classroom 2017. I would first like to acknowledge and thank our PTA. They've worked so hard, being very generous, funding this important project for our students. We broke ground a year ago. I believe it was April of 2016, and look how far we've come. We have laid down mulch and we're laying down stone, and we have enough flower beds for every classroom to experience the planting. We have students signed up today to work their shift to assist with planting today. We really lucked out with the weather. Mother Nature really smiled upon us. Our teachers have been very supportive of this project, and I'm really excited as the West Elementary principal to give our students an authentic experience, hands-on learning, learning about the life cycle of a plant, learning where vegetables come from. They actually do come from the ground. They don't come from Stop and Shop. And many of the vegetables we planted last spring have been eaten in our cafeteria, which really shows the full cycle of a plant from ground to tables. We're also going to add a weather station on the side of our shed, so students will be able to study weather patterns and precipitation and how sunlight impacts photosynthesis for plants. So there is an educational component to this, a very rich educational component. Thank you to the West community at large. We have parents here today helping to volunteer. I'd also like to thank our hardworking head custodian, Mr. Robert Trepanier. Bobby is, as we speak, working with mulch. And I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Ozelius, who donated his truck yesterday and ran off to Lowe's to acquire some more stone for us and more mulch and more plants and soil. And Therese Keegan, our first grade teacher, who has been instrumental in the planning and support of this important project. We've come a long way from where we were with barren tar, and this area was really not utilized prior to last spring. So we're very excited to take the project to the next level. I feel very proud and privileged to serve as the West School principal, and this was an idea that I had shared with our PTA. I thought it was very important for us to develop a Nature's Classroom. So it's rewarding for me personally and professionally to see a seed idea come to this, the extent of what it is. So that's very rewarding for me.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something along the way as well.
Check out PCN on YouTube and follow us on social media. Check out PACTV.org for more information on the show. Stay tuned as a brand new life is coming right up.